Hello and welcome to episode 105, the Uber Eats of satellite imagery, Eartheye Space business model to revolutionize data to decisions. We have discussed several aspects of Earth observation on this podcast, and I believe a lot of you who are actually an active listeners to this podcast will be aware about the Earth observation market developments, the kind of especially the innovations that are happening on the downstream side as well, including the kind of integration of machine learning and AI algorithms too. But today the things are very different on this episode. It's quite exciting and innovative to see because when I first spoke to the founder of this company, so he mentioned to me that they are like the Uber Eats of the space industry. So, without any delay, I would like to introduce to the today's guest. So, today's guest is the founder and the CEO of Eartheye Space, Shankar. Hi, Shankar. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Omkar. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much for your time, Shankar, again. And I mean, very frankly speaking, I was not knowing about Eartheye Space unless and until I took a deep dive into finding related stuff related to the Earth observation market. But I'm glad I came across your company, and finally, we have something innovative to mention over here on this episode. So, yeah, before we actually take a jump into the topic, can you briefly introduce about yourself, the kind of background you have, and the kind of work that you've done in the industry, and how you ended up founding such an amazing company with some of the best team members that you have at the moment?
Thank you, Omkar. The last bit is true about the best team. And just to go back into history, my background is in computer science and engineering, and I graduated from IIT Kanpur in India, and then went on to work at some of the big majors like Hewlett Packard, OpenText, doing various roles. I've been a technologist for the longest time until I joined Planet back in 2017, early days. That was my foray into new space. Um, Up until then, I've just had a cursory knowledge of new space and satellites and remote sensing, but I didn't realize I would actually get drawn into it. So with my foray into new space and Earth observation with Planet, and subsequently with companies like Satellogic and Spire, doing various things in Earth observation with variety of different data sets they were providing to solve very very interesting and wicked problems. I noticed there was one fundamental issue, which was about getting access to these satellites when and where you need, and that was not easy. And even it was expensive. There was this friction associated with what I call the accessibility and affordability, even before you get to usability of the remote sensing data or Earth observation data. And that is the problem we wanted to solve. And that is the birth of Eartheye Space back in September of 2022.
Interesting. That's a, I would say, a very long journey for yourself, and then coming to this point, founding this amazing company, and diving straight into the topic. I would say, what inspired Earth Eye Space to develop a business model similar to Uber Eats for satellite imagery, and uh, you know how does Earth Eye Space ensure timely access to the latest data for its users?
Right. So, if when you think about Uber, you think about accessibility and convenience, right? The first thing people talk about Uber is convenience.
Yes.
The second thing they'll talk about ownership, not having to own a private
Yeah.
vehicle. So just like Uber took away the need for ownership of private cars, but it gave an alternative to public transport, right? So that which is not great in many countries. Public transport, in most
Yes.
countries are okay, but in several countries are not. And so this is the same situation with Earth observation, like I said in the beginning. So not every organization can afford the data when and where they need, and with what sensors they need. And even it was not easily accessible for every government and business because of the high cost I mentioned. So this is where the idea to aggregate satellites like Uber came about, right? And aggregate both commercial and sovereign, national or dual use satellites. As you may know, not just commercial satellites are being launched more and more with thanks to cost of launch coming down significantly. But also sovereign satellites are going up as well. Nation states also want to put up lots of satellites. And what do they do beyond their area of interest, right? So it becomes an opportunity for us to bring their capacity also onto our platform. So that's the idea of that aggregation across commercial and government comes about. And we made it it has to be made affordable. So we just turned the whole thing into subscription, and we made the initial subscription 5,000 US dollars per year, and that
Wow.
5,000 is credit as well for the entire year. So this is how we solve the accessibility, getting all the satellites and sensors on a platform. This is how we solve the affordability. So now you don't need to be a very large country with defense or space agency or a government or a business. You can be a very small nation state with no assets in space, still have access to space as you would have access to private vehicles through Uber. So today we
Yeah.
announced our partnership with MSRO Maldives Space, MSRO Maldives Space Research Organization. Small island nation, has defense, border issues, maritime issues, illegal fishing issues, but also has climate risk issues. And imagine a country like Maldives now has access to 450, 500, 600 satellites through this
Yeah.
Uber model, right? So that's think about
Yes.
the Uber. But now coming to, you asked a very specific question, Uber Eats, because we are known as
Yes.
not just the Uber but Uber Eats. So what we did, we went a step further and adapted that Uber Eats model, because like Uber Eats, which allows the customers to order from multiple restaurant, multi cuisine from multi restaurant in the same order, we are hosting satellites and sensors with all the different modalities. So we basically turned our capability into multi-sensor tasking. So in the same task flow, it's a world's first. On the same task flow, you could attach multiple sensors from multiple satellite operators, regardless if it's government or commercial, just like Uber Eats. And why that is important now, when you're combining imaging with non-imaging sensors like AIS and RF, or even within imaging sensors between optical and SAR and others, you are able to solve some wicked problems. So this is how we became the Uber Eats for satellites. Yeah, so that's the narrative about us. And just one clarifications: we are not just Uber Eats for satellite imagery; we are Uber Eats for Earth observation data, because the sensors
Yeah.
we host is imaging sensors and non-imaging sensors.
That's interesting to know. So, when you said non-imaging sensors, it does it also involve the AIS data, which also has, I mean, RF signals related things as well.
Correct. So we host AIS data, we host RF comms data, X band, S band, soon to host L band, VHF, UHF. So we host all these different RF data as well. I mean, basically, when I say we host those sensors and satellites in space, which our customers can directly task. See, the thing, Omkar, is today is a world of complex problems, and complex problems requires complex data sets, or what I call multimodal data sets, right?
Yes.
Complex problems require multimodal solutions. Multimodal solutions require multimodal data. We offer those multimodal sensor or multi-sensor data to solve those complex problems.
Interesting. That's quite amazing to know that you have a variety of options actually available on the platform. And I mean, coming to the main question, I would say this is a very important part, I think, of the conversation. So, could you walk us through how Earth's iSpace platform works from the point of data capture to delivering insights to clients?
Right. So it's actually quite straightforward. It
Yeah.
says, it works like what it says on the tin, which means we talk about us being e-commerce experience platform. We talk about us being the kind of Uber Eats model. Just like how e-commerce, you can order multiple merchandise on your e-commerce platform of choice, and you pay for it and it gets delivered within the
Yes.
service level, right? You can have it delivered overnight, you can have it delivered after 3 days, 5 days, the
Yeah.
different service levels. We operate exactly the same way. So customers are tasking one or more satellites or one or more sensors, like I said, Uber Eats experience. So they're tasking multi sensors in the same workflow. They choose over their area of interest and time of interest. They choose the tasking tier. We operate across 4 tasking tiers. We have standard to emergency and couple of tiers in between. So it is how fast you want the data, and the platform then generates a real time price, just like Uber. It
Wow,
tells you
that's great.
exactly it tells you exactly how much is that task is going to cost in real time, and then you decide to move
That's
forward or
great.
not. So when you confirm it, the task gets scheduled in the satellites, and the data gets delivered within the service levels that you picked. And then if you also chose to get the information on the back of the data, we deliver that information usually within 2 to 3 minutes. So what I mean by that is, Navy customer could be tasking over 10,000 square kilometer of water looking for transshipment. Imagine you get so much data and you got to eyeball them. They get the data within 2 to 3 minutes. We locate the transshipments and we'll notify them
Wow,
of all the locations where the transshipments are taking place. So that's what we call an information feed. That is how we solve the usability problem of Earth observation, and we deliver that within 2 to 3 minutes of the data, regardless
that's
whether it's optical, SAR, doesn't matter.
that's quite interesting, and I think it's a very rapid and accelerated way to deliver insights to the clients. And
Correct.
what are the primary industry sectors that you at the moment serve? Also, can you also provide some of the real world use cases briefly?
Right. So our North Star customers, bigger customers, defense intelligence. So if you think about us as a situational awareness platform, right? So we are about the
Yes,
future. We are not about the past. So we
yes,
are about, just like calling an Uber. We are about the future. So the one. I mean, while we appeal to what I call initiated and uninitiated users, I'll make the distinction shortly. For the initiated, like the defense intelligence, disaster management, policing, private security, maritime, insurance, these are all the sectors that benefit from this capability, right? So the use cases could be everything from oil spill, floods, emissions, dark vessels, people extraction from conflict zones. So very, very interesting use cases. In addition to observing or monitoring deforestation and loss of biomass, or change land use, land cover change detection, which is kind of the run of the mill use cases in Earth observation. But we because of this responsive access to space, this situational awareness capability, we created this capability where people are able to say, okay, can I use this platform before I, as a situational awareness platform, before I do people extraction from conflict zones? Can I use this to monitor oil spill as the oil spill is unfolding and the damage it's creating? So some interesting use cases have emerged on the back of this responsive access. So that is mostly on the in the domain of what I call initiated customers or users who are already using geospatial data, but they were kind of have their own private vehicles or were relying on taxi companies, i.e.,
okay,
they had contracts with one or two operators, and or they have their own private vehicles. By definition, both are restrictive. Uber, on the other hand, is everywhere. So you asked me a question: how fast we can deliver things. Imagine if you relied only on one or two satellite operators, or you had your own satellite assets, unlikely to have 400, 500, 600 Earth observation satellites like we aggregate. um, our ability to be everywhere and to respond to a situation is far greater than the first two options. So this is how we
absolutely.
have the initiated customers also onboarding on our platform as an augmented capability in addition to what they already have. The uninitiated, who could never afford to have Earth observation data from satellite because of the affordability and accessibility issue, we have made that 5,000 US as a very low entry point for them to get on. So we are also getting uninitiated from in the uninitiated of the satellite data onto our platform and getting them to explore the use cases that they can solve with the sensors on the platform.
That's interesting. I mean, we have spoken about the opportunities, the kind of things that are existing with your platform at the moment, and I'd like to come to the point because I believe every business, when you start it, there are some kind of hurdles, there are some kind of obstacles. So, what are the challenges that you faced while initiating this kind of business model, or the kind of scaling that you have done? I mean, providing such things within 2 to 3 minutes, it's not an easy task. I believe a lot of hard work, efforts, a lot of collaboration would have gone into the on the
That's right.
back end. So, can you explain to us like what are the challenges and how your team basically overcome those challenges while scaling this business model?
Yeah, no, very good. So, it's a flywheel effect, right? It's a network effect. So,
Yes,
the more operator partners you have more customers. The more customers you have more operator partners. So it's
yes,
that flywheel effect that we are kind of working in right now. So being the largest satellite aggregator with over 475, 500, by next year we'll have 600 plus satellites, and that driving a lot of customer adoption both in the initiated and the uninitiated, as I sort of characterized. um, so that is the good news story. It did come with a lot of heavy lifting. It was not easy in the early days. I think I was fortunate to be able to convince people on both sides, on the buy side and the supply side, to
yes,
see this as a new way of solving problems with Earth observation data. So our mission statement says, we are reimagining the way how the world source and use space data. Right. So that's our mission.
yes,
We are reimagine the way how the world use and source and use Earth observation data. So it took a lot of believers both on the supply side, i.e., the satellite operators, and then the customers also to start looking at us. Okay, I can augment our capability with this Uber Eats model. And then obviously, like I said, the uninitiated also started paying attention because it's a low risk, it's a low barrier to entry with 5,000 US. So coming back, the biggest issue in trying to get all this going is talent. Right. So
yes,
getting finding talent was hard because we are a startup, so we can't match the pay scales of a big tech companies. So
absolutely.
today everyone in Eartheye Space, they are there because they believe in the mission. They believe that we are doing something innovative, we are solving a real problem, we are a category creating product, right? Because
Yes,
we are the first pure play satellite tasking platform in the world, and we are the largest to go with it. But how do we then overcome this talent shortage, or the inability to attract the top talent we need to keep innovating? So we created partnerships. You mentioned the word collaboration. How do we go about collaborating? So we created partnerships. So for example, um, our CVML team is a combination of augmented staff. In addition to our team, it's also augmented a team from one of my friends' AI company. So he's a founder
wow,
himself, just like I'm a founder. He's a founder, but he's an AI founder. So they do computer vision, machine learning work, and then so we have this partnership where they have a stake in our company. So
wow,
so because they have a capacity which I don't have.
yes,
They have the capacity. They are very focused on what they do. For us, CVML, computer vision, machine learning, is means to the end of turning the data into information. So we have that partnership, 1+1 3, right? So this is how we overcome, because I will not have the ability to hire like they hire. They can hire, but because they are part of our company, they have a stake in our company. Then we are joined at the hip. So we are working towards the same goal of delivering this information and feeds to our customer in the manner we would have to if we were just hiring everybody inside our Eartheye Space. So this is how selectively we've gone about solving the capacity, talent and capacity issue.
that's quite interesting to know, I would say, because I was unaware about this fact as you mentioned previously, because I thought like you had everything developed by your team. But it's great to know that you have a dedicated team who actually works on the kind of algorithms of the AI and machine learning stuff.
Correct.
I
So
mean,
even
we
though
are at
the team,
the yeah.
even though the team is like I said, it's augmented team. They all work with and for Eartheye, right? So they
Okay.
have, yeah. So that's the beauty. It's just that they sit in a different entity, but they are working with and for Eartheye, with that entity having a stake in Eartheye. So it's a very very, I mean, innovative way of solving a problem, which is how
Yes.
do I get the capacity in a very high cost area, because computer vision, machine learning, engineering is not cheap.
Yes,
And now you're competing with
absolutely, yeah.
big techs. So this is how we solve the problem.
Absolutely, and I think it represents a kind of, significant fusion between the two industries as well, like the IT
Absolutely.
and the space industry as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I think because I came from that industry background, I know I could see this is a way to solve the problem.
Yes.
Let's not
Yeah.
stay within the space and, space ecosystem.
Yes.
Let's create partnerships in the technology realm where I came from. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. And taking a little bit step ahead, because I think we are at the end of the episode now. So, looking ahead, what are the kind of advancement we can expect from your company in terms of product offerings or market expansion, or maybe in terms of scaling your capacity to employ people as well. So, I mean, there are a lot of students, research scholars who listen to this podcast. So
Okay.
if you have any kind of offerings in terms of maybe products, market expansion, or job offerings, something in which direction you are basically moving ahead, can you explain to us in briefly about this?
Perfect. So I think there are three things here. One is getting talent, second is product, and the third is markets. I'll go through each one of them quickly. So the easy ones first, and it's a more pressing one, talent, right? So if there are
Yes.
listeners of this podcast who would like to do internship, who would like to make Eartheye their first job employment, or you're a seasoned engineer and you want to give it a go at Eartheye, by all means reach out to us. There are open position on our website, eartheye.space, under careers. So please go ahead and apply, or even send your resume from our website. So we have a big focus on bringing interns and working with them, mentoring and grooming them. So coming to product. So we'll continue to innovate, Omkar. The moment you stop, you die. So every day is day
Yeah.
one. It's borrowed, obviously, but that's because when you're a small and a high performance team, you got to have that mindset. Every day is day one, and the competition is breathing down your neck. But more important than competition, you have to solve the problem that customers are asking to be solved yesterday. So you can't
Yes.
take months of Sundays to solve that. So we tend to move very fast to deliver that value. We'll continue to do that. But if you ask me where we are going, we'll want to become the go-to platform for real-time situational awareness. We are
Okay.
starting to be known as the situational awareness platform, and we want to become the
Yes.
real-time situational awareness. So we want to be that Google chat GPT for the future, not for the past. Today you go to Google and you search about what has already captured in the world and checked into some databases and sites, and then Google index and tells you. So that's all about Google, and ChatGPT is all about the past. We want to be about the future. If something is going to unfold in the next 2 hours, we are the platform for you to know about. That is why we are a
Wow.
situational awareness platform. So data will be captured, information will be generated in minutes, and from tasking to that information, we are going to bring it down to under 1 hour.
That's interesting. So it will be kind
So
of a predictive analysis as well that you'll be
we
providing.
would we would start to use predictive, but we'll also start to, because as a satellite operator, without owning a single satellite, Airbnb for satellites,
Yes.
we
Yes.
have the ability to be everywhere because of the scale and scope of operation, because we operate in every orbit, Earth observation orbit, every possible Earth observation orbit. There are satellites in different sensor modalities. So our vision is to bring down that information latency from, today it takes anything from 3 4 5 hours. That's the best you can do. We want to bring it down to under 1 hour, and that is not even supposed to be called emergency. That is just the standard. So we want to
Yes.
work towards this capability of that situational awareness, where we can generate that information under 1 hour. So my vision is to be the Starling for Earth observation.
That's interesting. That would be great actually, because I think we don't really have that kind of platform, especially the predictive analysis stuff that you mentioned at the moment.
Yeah.
It will be really helpful, especially, I mean, it's not always people think that, because of war only, actually the Earth observation sector earns a lot, but to resolve things through the diplomatic issues as well, I think predictive analysis very will be very much useful over there. It will be a means to basically stop wars as well.
That's
So
right.
I believe, especially in defense and intelligence, as you mentioned, and I mean, I
Yeah,
primarily work in military
that's right.
applications in the space industry, so I can relate to it a lot. How there is a gap
Mm,
in this segment.
mm.
And I really hope that you and your team really scale up to this level, and we see this solution in the coming years for sure. So
Thank you.
yeah,
Thank
thank you
you.
very much. Thank you very much, Shankar, again for the wonderful insights. And I hope to have you again on the podcast when you are expanding and launching these new solutions, because it will be really great to possibly even have a demonstration through the screen share as well about
Absolutely.
how it works. Because it would
Hmm.
be great as we have started the video podcasting. It will be great for the listeners and the people who are watching the video
Right.
to basically receive a real time insight into how your platform works, basically. So, yeah, thank you
Looking
very much
forward to.
again.
Looking forward to. And thank you so much for the opportunity. And yeah, thank you. Thanks for the insights too. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Yeah.